as Executive Vice President for Policy at the Center for American Progress. Melody directed a network of policy experts dedicated to finding solutions for struggling middle-class families. She also served as chief counsel to the great Senator Ted Kennedy on the Senate Judiciary Committee. Working on issues ranging from crime to immigration to bankruptcy. And fighting tirelessly to protect civil rights, women's rights, and religious freedom. Melody's brilliant legal mind and her long experience working to secure the liberties on which this nation was founded, as well as to secure the opportunities for those who've been left behind. Make her a perfect fit for DPC director. I'm grateful that Tim, Larry, Christina, and Melody have accepted my nomination. And I am looking forward to working closely with them in the months ahead. That work starts today, because the truth is, we do not have a minute to waste. Right now, our economy is trapped in a vicious cycle. The turmoil on Wall Street means a new round of belt-tightening for families and businesses on Main Street. And as folks produce less and consume less, that just deepens the problems in our financial markets. These extraordinary stresses on our financial system require extraordinary policy responses. And my administration will honor the public commitments. Made by the current administration to address this crisis. Further, beyond any immediate actions we may take, we need a recovery plan for both Wall Street and Main Street. A plan that stabilizes our financial system and gets credit flowing. Again, while at the same time addressing our growing foreclosure crisis, helping our struggling auto industry. And creating and saving 2.5 million jobs, jobs rebuilding our infrastructure, our roads. Our bridges, modernizing our schools, and creating the clean energy infrastructure of the 21st century. Because at this moment, we need to restore both confidence in the markets and restore confidence of middle-class families. Who find themselves working harder, earning less, and falling further and further behind. I've asked my economic team to develop recommendations for this plan and to consult with Congress. The current administration, and the Federal Reserve on immediate economic developments over the next 2 months. I've requested that they brief me on these matters on a daily basis. And in the coming weeks, I will provide the American people and the incoming Congress with an overview of their initial recommendations. It is my hope that the new Congress will begin work on an aggressive economic recovery plan. When they convene in early January so that our administration can hit the ground running. With our economy in distress, we cannot hesitate and we cannot delay. Our families can't afford to keep on waiting and hoping for a solution. They can't afford to watch another month of unpaid bills pile up, another semester of tuition slip out of reach. Another month where, instead of saving for retirement, they're dipping into their savings just to get by. And I want to repeat, this will not be easy. There are no shortcuts or quick fixes to this crisis, which has been many years in the making. and the economy is likely to get worse before it gets better. Full recovery will not happen immediately. And to make the investments we need, we'll have to scour our federal budget. Line by line, and make meaningful cuts and sacrifices, as well, something. Despite all of this, I am hopeful about the future. I have full confidence in the wisdom and ingenuity of my economic team and in the hard work. Courage, and sacrifice of the American people. And most of all, I believe deeply in the resilience and the spirit of this nation. I know we can work our way out of this crisis because we've done it before. And I know we will succeed once again if we put aside partisanship and politics and work together. That's exactly what I intend to do as President of the United States. Barack Obama. A new foundation. Delivered April 14, 2009, Georgetown University, Washington, D. C. Well, to President DeGioia, thank you so much for the gracious introduction. And thanks for bringing your family, including JT. Appreciate you. We're going to invite him over, hang out with the girls. He's a pretty good-looking young man. To Mayor Adrian Fenty, who's doing such a great job in the city, thank you so much for your attendance. To Representative Donna Edwards, who is here and represents Maryland's 4th District, thank you. To Georgetown University students, it is great to be here. Well, it is good to be back. I appeared in this room during the campaign and had a wonderful reception then. And it's wonderful to be back and be with all of you. We're going to talk about the economy today. And I was telling President DeJoy this may be a slightly longer speech than I usually give. But it's a slightly bigger topic, and that is how we are going to deal with so many of our economic challenges. You know, it's been 12 weeks now since my administration began. And I think that even our critics would agree that at the very least, we've been busy. In just under 3 months, we've responded to an extraordinary set of economic challenges with extraordinary action that's been unprecedented both in terms of its scale and its speed. And I know that some have accused us of taking on too much at once. Others believe we haven't done enough. And many Americans are simply wondering how all of our different programs and policies fit together in a single. Overarching strategy that will move this economy from recession to recovery and ultimately to prosperity. So today, I want to step back for a moment and explain our strategy as clearly as I can. This is going to be prose, and not poetry. I want to talk about what we've done, why we've done it, and what we have left to do. I want to update you on the progress we've made. But I also want to be honest about the pitfalls that may still lie ahead. Most of all, I want every American to know that each action we take and each policy we pursue is driven by a larger, Vision of America's future: a future where sustained economic growth creates good jobs and rising incomes. A future where prosperity is fueled not by excessive debt, or reckless speculation, or fleeting profits. But is instead built by skilled, productive workers, by sound investments that will spread opportunity at home and allow this. Nation to lead the world in the technologies and the innovation and discoveries that will shape the 21st century. That's the America I see. That's the America that Georgetown is preparing so many of you for. That is the future that I know that we can have. Now, to understand how we get there, we first need to understand how we got here. Recessions are not uncommon. Markets and economies naturally ebb and flow, as we've seen many times in our history. But this recession is different. This recession was not caused by a normal downturn in the business cycle. It was caused by a perfect storm of irresponsibility and poor decision-making that stretched from Wall Street to Washington to Main Street. As has been widely reported, it started in the housing market. During the course of the decade, the formula for buying a house changed. Instead of saving their pennies to buy their dream house, many Americans found that suddenly they could take out loans that by traditional standards their incomes just could not support. Others were tricked into signing these subprime loans by lenders who were trying to make a quick profit. The reason these loans were so readily available was that Wall Street saw big profits to be made. Investment banks would buy and package together these questionable mortgages into securities. Arguing that by pooling the mortgages the risks had somehow been reduced. And credit agencies that are supposed to help investors determine the soundness of various investments. Stamp the securities with their safest rating when they should have been labeled buyer beware. No one really knew what the actual value of these securities were, no one fully understood what the risks were. But since the housing market was booming and prices were rising, banks and investors just kept buying and selling them, always passing off the risk to someone else. For a greater profit without having to take any of the ultimate responsibility. Banks took on more debt than they could handle. The government chartered companies Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, whose traditional mandate was to help support traditional mortgages. Decided to get in on the action by buying and holding billions of dollars of these securities. AIG, the biggest insurer in the world that had a very traditional insurance business that was very profitable. Decided to make profits suddenly by selling billions of dollars of complicated financial instruments that supposedly insured these securities. Everybody was making record profits except the wealth created was real only on paper. And as the bubble grew, there was almost no accountability or oversight from anyone in Washington. Then the housing bubble burst. Home prices fell. People began to default on their subprime mortgages. And the value of all those loans and securities plummeted. Banks and investors couldn't find anyone to buy them. Greed. Gave way to fear. Investors pulled their money out of the market. Large financial institutions that didn't have enough money on hand to pay off all their obligations collapsed. Other banks held on tight to their money and simply stopped lending.